Hello, 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 and welcome to B&E Presents the Trend. And guess what, guys? This is our season 2 kickoff. This is episode 28, titled How to Get Started in the Healthcare Consulting Industry. I am Alviana Brewster, the founder and CEO of Black Nurse Entrepreneurs. You know us as B&E. We are the premier networking organization for Black nurses with all the best resources possible. Anybody that's interested in launching, building, and growing their entrepreneurial endeavors, we got you. In this episode, we have our special friend and guest, the dynamic Elle Pierson. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Healthcare consultant, nurse, author, TEDx speaker, and mentor to aspiring healthcare consultants are just a few of the many roles Elle Pierson encompasses. Elle is the principal consultant and founder of the Reputation Advisors, a brand experience and crisis communications consulting agency that helps organizations protect their brand from internal and external reputation threats. Accomplished in healthcare business strategy, Elle commends her understanding of the healthcare industry and devotion to evolving the patient journey to her 16-year nursing career. Her experience as a nursing leader in combination with her Bachelor of Science and executive MBA degrees from Texas Women's University inspired Elle to disrupt the traditional role of the healthcare professional. In Elle's book, The Power of Expertise, How to Reach Infinite Income Potential as a Nurse Consultant, Elle shares the strategies and framework for healthcare professionals to transition from traditional healthcare roles, I should say, into the industry of consulting. You can listen to Elle share consulting success tips and interview other healthcare consultants on the podcast called The Network. That is available on iTunes. It's available on Google Podcasts as well as Stitcher. Without further ado, I present to you the GOAT of healthcare consulting, my good friend Elle Pierson. Let me go get her. Hi there, sister. How are you today?
Hello, sister. I'm doing wonderful. I wasn't expecting the theme music. I was backstage dancing.
Of course, you know, that's how we do it here in B&E. I'm happy to see you, and thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to our B&E family about consulting. Consulting is one of those things that's kind of near and dear to my heart, so I always wanted to share your expertise with our family. So before we even get started, you know, I talked a little bit about you, but I always give my guests the opportunity to tell us a little bit about themselves in their own words. So tell us, how did you even get started into this nursing career?
Oh, wow. The journey of nursing that's led us where we are today. So, when I started out in nursing, my goal and aspiration was always to go into a CRNA program. But unlike many who they decide this is what I want to do, I'm just going to work towards it. I've always been a researcher. So I do market research now. I did market research then. And so I remember being a baby nurse in the pediatric industry, and I remember shadowing a CRNA. And I am a people person. I'm a talker. And I was like, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I could be in the OR for hours at a time and not be able to communicate with others and my patients. So that just wasn't my thing, and worked in the NICU for many, many, many years, transitioned into the community setting and helped open the first community hospital in the pediatric world here in Houston, and started dabbling into leadership. And so that was amazing. So all of my 16 years have absolutely been pivotal to everything I do in consulting, from the clinician role, to the clinical bedside role, to being a charge nurse, to being a nursing leader. Every single thing, now that I think back, in every single way I was consulting, I just didn't know. But yeah, it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey. So from wanting to be a CRNA to now being a consultant, which I never knew was possible even then.
You know, sometimes I think that we have to create a space where we can make that kind of a pivot type of thing. Because, and this is the reason why I say that. When I went to nursing school, I thought I was going to be a pediatric nurse, right? The whole entire time. I loved kids. I was a Sunday school teacher, and I said, I'm going to be a pediatric nurse, and therefore I'm not going to listen to any of the geriatric stuff that they were teaching me. Needless to say, this is my 16th year of nursing, right? I haven't touched a child yet. So sometimes the plan that we think that we're going to go down,
Is not that plan at all. God has
no,
other plans for you.
exactly. And I had to learn all the adult care and remember, what am I supposed to do with these geriatric people? Because I was thinking I was going to be in pediatrics the whole time. But yeah, never have touched a child yet. So with that being said, obviously you went into consulting. What led you into consulting specifically?
You know what? It's interesting because going into business period was nothing that I ever had planned. My goal was always to just grow up the clinical ladder, grow up the leadership ladder, really. And
Mhm.
so, business really approached me. At the end of the day, any great business model, no matter what it is, you're solving a problem. And so that's what I found myself doing. And again, as I mentioned, looking back at every single role, I've always been solving problems. I think every single nurse listening can relate to that. We complain about retention. We complain about not being acknowledged. We complain about so many things, and we have the solutions. There's so many great nurse innovators, but we just don't know how to move forward. And so business kind of fell in my lap. And so it wasn't until I took on a leadership role where I started to really solve more problems and understand from a bigger picture. Okay, I'm in a business. Healthcare
Mhm.
is a huge business, and there's a reason why we as leaders make certain decisions. And we were bringing in external consultants. I started to develop relationships with them, and it just sparked my curiosity. So, as busy as I was, Alviana, I made it a point to start going to conferences and networking and start building relationships. And building relationships, I was at a conference, met a consultant who was an external consultant, had no clinical experience, but we built a relationship. So from that relationship, she really opened up her business model to me. And I was amazed at all the problems that she was solving, but yet she had no clinical experience. So it was almost like a slap in the face to really, I was appreciative, but it was again very, you know, outright shocking to find out that someone with no clinical experience could come into an organization, make 3 times my salary for a 6-month project, but yet these were the same problems that we were, addressing to leadership, and no one would listen. And so it really opened my eyes to, wow, there's an opportunity that I never knew about. But then here's something that's amazing that happened through that relationship. She challenged me. She said, Elle, you're solving all these amazing initiatives. Why aren't you consulting? And I said, well, I never thought about it. And so, of course, what do? We go to Google, we start looking, healthcare consulting, and everything that populated was legal nurse consulting, legal nurse consulting. And I'm like, well, I don't want to go into legal nurse consulting. That's not what I want to do. And then after further research, I started finding other consulting firms, process improvement, quality. There's consultants in every single specialty. However, again, it was through meeting someone who made me aware. And, what I find to be so evident is a lot of healthcare professionals out here, especially nurses, they're not even aware that there's an opportunity for them to go into consulting in their own specialty where they have the most experience. So you don't have to go into legal nurse consulting. If you enjoy legal, then move forward in that direction. But whatever problem you can solve, you're an asset to where you work because you're already solving those problems. And so it was just through meeting someone who made me aware, helped me acknowledge that I was an expert, and really just provide me with insight into their business. And it was an amazing opportunity. And I said, you know what? I can't sit here and continue to, be a part of committees, save them money, make them money, and not be acknowledged. No, I'm worth so much more than that,
Right.
because the same organizations that we solve problems for, there's other organizations who are looking for experts to solve those same exact problems. They just don't know that we exist.
You said a mouthful when you said they literally had an external person coming in and solving the problems that we do anyways. And I have this, I don't know, it just makes me feel some type of way when I think about it on a day-to-day basis. I say, that's why I always say that we are the trend, right? Because we're the ones that should be at the forefront of decision making. We're with the patient the majority of the time. There's no other person in healthcare that's with the patient as much time as we are. We probably would know a lot more than they think that we know, right? But we as nurses have to condition our mindset to understand the value that we bring to the table. If we're solving $1 million problem or a $500,000 problem, that means you're super valuable. And you should be paid appropriately for your value, correct?
Absolutely. I think the downfall is, you know, we're so focused on the traditional model of education, and it's not taught, right? It just takes someone to provide you with awareness, but more than anything, you really have to know your own worth. And there's so many ways that nurses can leverage their place of work. Even before I left my position, I started my consulting firm while I was working. But at the end of the day, I leveraged that hospital to the fullest extent. I built relationships with leaders. I made sure I was a part of committees and understood why leaders made certain decisions. I started to understand the dynamic of the budget and what they were paying for, what they were not paying for, who the external consultants were, and why they chose them. There's so much that we can do and learn while we're working, wherever we work, to understand the business. But oftentimes we're waiting for someone to show up and say, you're the expert, you can do this. Sometimes it takes us being aware and stepping into our power ourselves.
Why did they maybe suggest that they would hire external people for jobs that clearly an internal person could either do or be trained to do?
You know, a lot of times organizations are smart about building a team of internal leaders. So you'll have different task force and committees. So they're very smart about saving money and utilizing the internal workforce who are truly consultants. So let me just share that with you right now. Everybody listening, you are a consultant. You've always been consulting. No one's just made you aware that as a consultant, you solve problems, you provide advice and guidance and recommendations and all those things. So organizations are really smart about that. However, there's a certain amount of expertise that external consultants sometimes do bring to the table. And there's a way that they pitch it, they market it. And I've been able to, remember, I said I leverage my place of work. And so through listening to those other consultants, there's a way that employees will bring up problems that an external consultant can come in, bring up the same problem, and they'll add numbers behind it. They'll add that pain behind it. So you get the attention of leaders. So you really have to understand how you speak the language of a CEO who can write the check. If you're unable to speak that language, you're not going to move forward with any kind of conversation, right? So it's about really understanding the business of consulting, which is why I tell anyone I work with, before you quit that job, you need to leverage where you work and understand how leaders think, act, talk, walk, go to lunch with them. Because at the end of the day, the reason they bring those external consultants in is because the external consultants know how to have conversations that leaders will invest in. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And sometimes I think too, we want to do or bring in external people because they bring in a different set of eyes than that internal person too.
Yes, absolutely. You're 100% right. But one thing that I've noticed too, especially when building relationships with a lot of leaders, they prefer to work with us as smaller consulting firms opposed to the Deloittes and the McKinseys, because yes, we are a fresh set of eyes. However, when you are a smaller consulting firm, they really like the fact that we take the time to listen. They love the fact that they're working with experienced consultants. And if you have experience like we do as nurses, they know we have front line, we've been there, we've done that, which is totally different from a lot of these healthcare consultants who are brought in who have no experience that can compare to our own. So we really have a huge advantage that a lot of consultants who are new in the industry should take advantage of.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. What year was your first year of business? You remember?
Yeah, wow. Okay, so let me just share this. Consulting was not my first business.
Oh,
Yes, this has been a journey for me. I'll take you back to 2012. I actually was a lactation consultant years and years ago. Remember, I told you I worked in the NICU.
right.
And, I started a business. And just thinking back to when I first started in business, I learned so much. And compared to where I am now, a lot of, I often think, where could I have been if I would have stayed and just stayed dedicated to it? But I really didn't understand how important it was to build your mindset. And so there were some things that happened within the business. I said, you know what? I don't want to do this. And now I think there's corporate lactation consultants that build out programs for non-healthcare, healthcare organizations. So there's opportunity in consulting everywhere. But my first business, I was a lactation consultant and closed that business down after about 2 years, took on a leadership role and just learned everything about the business of consulting. Started my consulting business while I was a nursing leader and never looked back.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
impressive. It's a very impressive journey. What would you attribute to, I guess, the most valuable part or the most valuable thing? Let's say it be a person, a course, or anything that has helped you along the way when it comes to your business.
Mm. I do a lot of mindset work, a lot of mindset work, because at the end of the day, you know, the traditional education that I've gone through didn't prepare me for how to have conversations that equate to contracts and having
Mhm.
those conversations, as you know, as a business owner, we deal with a lot of rejection, not now, maybe next quarter. And then you still have to pick yourself up and keep going, just knowing that you have to focus on the end result. So, anything for me at this phase in my business, just kind of reflecting back, it's been mindset work. So, listening and having mentors like Bob Proctor, who
Mhm.
really helps you understand the paradigm shift, what that means, and really reframing how your subconscious mind works. Reading books like The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, and again, understanding the sales cycle and what those conversations sound and look like. And to be quite honest with you, if there's anyone who's ever been successful, I study them. I make them my mentors. And there's a lot to be learned. But one thing that I've learned the most and probably the most valuable is if you start it, finish it. Because
Yeah.
so many times, and I know you can relate to this too, we'll purchase books, we'll purchase courses we never finish, but I'm a finisher. So if I say that I am going to obtain this six-figure consulting contract, you dang well believe I'm going to do it. So a lot of times, even we as consultants, I had to learn the beginning. I didn't know that I had to follow up. But through reading literature and having mentors and investing in business coaches to say, oh, this is a whole sales cycle. This is what it looks like. You sometimes have to follow up 15 times. Well, now I have a sales cycle that does not end. I'm going to get the business. So there's, I am a believer in investing in experts, because at the end of the day, as consultants, we are also experts. So if you have the expectation that you're going to partner with an organization to help them solve problems and they should invest in you to collapse time, it should be no different than you yourself as someone in business investing in your business to collapse time and expedite your results. So
Absolutely.
there's so many things that I do and practice and utilize in my business to just kind of keep my momentum going.
So there was one thing that happened to me. We're getting pretty close to a year, actually. I was at a company helping the company out, and I've told this story before, but it honestly speaks to you specifically. So
Really?
I was helping the company. Absolutely, I was helping the company out, and I was there listening to, I believe, either interview that you had given or a podcast or something, one of your videos or something I was listening to. And you were just talking about the consulting world and the value of it and just kind of the overview of it. And I'm sitting there thinking, there are a lot of things that go on here at this building that I think I could probably fix, right? And so it's what helped me to launch my consulting business. And I went and I purchased your book and I read through the book. I mean, my book is all highlighted yellow because I'm taking notes and I'm highlighting and I'm learning so many things that I didn't even really consider. And that's a part of that investing into yourself, you know, reading the book. I am not a reader. That is the God honest truth. I am not that leisure reader, but I will read to invest into myself. And there was just simple things in the book that I really felt helped me um in my when I initially started the consulting. So first I want to say obviously thank you, but I also want people to understand just the value of the reinvesting in them to themselves continuously and understand that we truly are solving problems all day and all night. We just have to flip on from that kind of nursing mentality and mindset, the giving, the nurturing of a nurse, which is great, don't get me wrong. But then we flip on into that expertise. I am the authority figure because I know what I'm doing and I will help you to become a better establishment or a better patient or whatever you decide to go into consulting for. And so I just, your story and my story are intertwining here because you really helped me out a lot. Now, what I do want to ask you about this is a lot of people, and I see this oftentimes here in B&E, people have no idea how to A, become a consultant, and B, they don't even know who can become a consultant. Now, we've already discussed that pretty much all of us are consultants, but can you kind of shed a little bit of light on that? Does it really require any additional um, training or anything? Can an LVN do it? Can a PhD? Who can become a consultant?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I get that question quite often as well. I want to say this before I even jump into it. You already know us. You already are the expert. You don't need to go back to school. You are enough. If anyone has ever come to you and asked you to help them troubleshoot a problem, you were the expert. If you've written policies and procedures, you were the expert at that time. If you precepted someone, you were the expert. That's leadership development consulting. It's employee retention consulting. So, when it comes to what do you need to start a consulting business, I'm going to share with you the difference between the two. Starting a business and working for someone as a consultant, because the requirements are going to be different. So if you decide to move forward as a healthcare consultant as a career and you look for a position, let's say at Press Ganey, Joint Commission hires consultants, there are requirements. Okay, so if they require you to have a master's degree with this much experience, then that's something you'll have to go and look for, seek, obtain it if you don't already have it. However, if you are starting a business as a healthcare consultant, you need your expertise. What it requires is you be confident in solving problems and getting your clients the results that you say you can help them achieve. So if you've been a leader at an organization, I'm not sure, whatever your role is, and there's a particular task that someone always comes to you about. If you've helped an organization prepare for Joint Commission, prepare for Magnet, there's so many different things that we do where organizations will hire external consultants to do on the behalf of the organization. But if you've already done those things, that's what the organization is seeking. They're seeking results. Alviana, let me just share this with you so the audience can really understand where I'm coming from. There has never been not one of my clients who's ever said, Elle, I've enjoyed talking to you. I believe you can help my organization. Can you please share your resume with me? It's never happened, ever, ever, ever. If a client ever wants to learn a little bit more about the work I've done, they'll want to see case studies. So you have to turn your resume into a case study. So think about all the ways in which you've been on projects, you've helped prepare for surveying and Joint Commission and all those things. Those are case studies. There was a problem, you introduced recommendations, and here is the result. Your clients that you will be working with and getting these 5, 6, and 7-figure contracts, they want the results. So as far as answering your question, the requirements, you just have to be confident that you have enough experience to obtain the results that you promise your clientele. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I want people to understand that it's not as hard as we make it, you
No.
know. Now, I don't want to take away the fact that it does require that investment. So, like we were speaking about earlier, getting good mentorship, getting good coaching, make sure that you have a process in place to be able to be successful. I'm not, in other words, I'm saying don't just go down there and be like, hey, I'm here and I'm going to help you today. Like, we probably need a little bit of a process to get to that point. However, it's not as hard as a lot of people think. They're like, what do I need to do to get into consulting? Well, I got your girl right here. Here's the GOAT of healthcare consulting. Contact her. And so that leads me into, why do you think people should work with you? What is your value that maybe separates you from everybody else?
Yeah, it's interesting because it took me, I'm just going to be completely transparent. It took me quite some time to invest in a business coach because at the end of the day, I'm a researcher. I do my research, I implement quickly. I know the end result of what I desire. I'm not afraid to take chances and step outside of my comfort zone. But the game changer for me was really investing in a business coach. And I mean, I I had been wanting this Maserati for a long time, and I paid that Maserati was the business coach. So I put my money where my mouth was, and it was a game changer for me. So the biggest difference, if someone's interested in moving forth with consulting, at the end of the day, you have to recognize there's not a lot of resources out there, and so if your desire is to be supported and collapse time to expedite your results, then I would love to have a conversation with anyone. But you have to be ready because my expectations are extremely high. Number one, it's about me doing business with other consultants because I understand their work ethic. I've brought them up. I understand they can get the results. So consulting is a business of strategic relationships. If you come to me and you say, "Elle, I'm ready," I'm going to say, "Okay, I want to learn more about what you want to do to see if we're a good fit to work together." Because one thing that I do know, there's a world of coaches out here now, which is great. Everyone has expertise that they can share, but I'm not only a coach, I run a consulting business. So everything that you do, I'm also doing, and I'm sharing my journey and sharing with others what's working, what I'm tweaking, and how I'm getting the results in the contracts that I'm able to receive. So that's really the difference. Everyone has their specialty. But at the end of the day, if you truly want to be supported, I'd be happy to walk anyone along the journey and just share resources and send business your way as well. So,
Absolutely. Take us
yes.
take us a little bit behind the scenes of um, your healthcare consultant network that you have, where you're helping people become healthcare consultants. Give us a little peek into
Oh,
what that looks
wow.
like. If somebody wanted to work with you and says, like you said, Elle, I'm ready. What does that look like for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I have so many resources. This year, I decided, I wanted to share more resources with those who may not be ready for one on one coaching. Initially, that was the program. You joined the Healthcare Consultant Academy and you work with me one on one. And so this year, I'm excited to say, you know what? I want to start sharing some of these courses with those who maybe just want to take it a little bit slow. I take action pretty fast. Once you give me something, I'm like, okay, this is the goal. I want to set a bigger business. I'm going to implement this to make that happen, whatever it takes, how long it takes. I'm dedicated. So soon you'll be seeing me release courses, the Healthcare Consultant Blueprint, Sales and Marketing, any and everything about consulting. You'll be able to purchase those courses individually. But for those consultants who are like, I want to be supported by someone who's been there, done that, can help me, then I would say apply for a consultation call with me to see if we'd be a good fit to work together. And then I would just open up the vault of resources. So that looks like courses, templates, contracts, speaking engagements. And I have a VA that just grabs speaking engagements for us and puts them in, a document where everybody can kind of go through. We have accountability coaching. At the end of the day, it's a resource. But
Mhm.
if you want to be supported, then I'm your girl.
Okay, that sounds good to
Yes.
me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to piggyback a little bit off of that because you and I discussed there's a post that you made last week. As everybody knows, we did Happy Nurses Week from May 6th through the 12th. So Happy Nurses Week again to everyone out there. But Elle came through with this post. And the post was, you go into your break room and you see another box of pizza. That should be inspiration enough for you to go ahead and launch your consulting business. Now, I may not have got that verbatim, but I think I got it pretty close.
Yes, yes. Oftentimes you really have two options. You can build your legacy or you can build someone else's. The option is yours. And not everyone is meant to go into business. Let's be clear, because everyone glamorizes what it looks like. But let me tell you, this is hard work.
Right.
There's some days and nights where I have long hours. Do I enjoy the freedom it provides? Absolutely, 100% yes. However, at the end of the day, I know for me, I desire not to build someone else's legacy. I want to leave a legacy behind for generations to come. And at the end of the day, here's the thing. If you were irritated by Nurses Week and you saw that post and you were moved and you liked it, you commented, you laughed, that was a whole consulting opportunity right there. Let's just think about it. Let's just dig deep a little bit. It's called Nurses Are Burned Out, Physicians Are Burned Out. I've had conversations with administrators. They're burned out. What happens when you're burned out? Your productivity goes down. You lose staff. What happens when you lose staff? You lose revenue. You have to reorientate new staff who most likely will not stay. So if you are interested in consulting, I would challenge you to start thinking like a business consultant. A business consultant will put together all the pieces, see the problem, and correlate that with the revenue cycle that's going to fail. If they lose staff, they lose money. If nurses are tired, productivity goes down, quality is impacted. There's so many different ways you could take that post and translate that into a consulting business. But it's about, do you see the opportunity in that? Are you ready? Not everybody's ready. And that's something else. I only work with those who are ready, because I'll send money your direction. But if you're not ready, I'm not going to send that money your direction because it impacts my reputation. It's like I said, I want to build consultants up who I can also send them to clients that I help. So are y'all ready?
Are you ready?
Are you
That, you know what? That's a mouthful. I really want people to absorb exactly what you just said. Something as simple as pizza. We all like pizza, but a gesture like that can create all of these emotions. I'm
Yes.
tired. I remember I've worked both day and night shift, and I've been there on night shift, and I come in and there's a pizza box and there's one piece of cold pizza sitting there. And you're like, I'm going to be up all night. I'm tired. The least they could have done was get us fresh pizza, right? Or you're working day shift and it is so busy, you can't even get in there to eat the pizza. We're talking about thinking outside of the box.
Yes.
The emotions that you feel, you said something very, very powerful. The emotions, if that irritated you, there are opportunities where you can step in and make a difference on your terms. That's powerful. Something as simple as pizza. Very
Yes.
powerful. Very,
Yes.
very powerful. Go ahead. Are you going to
Oh,
say something?
I'll go into strategy all night. Don't get me started.
I like, you know what? And I like whenever we start converting from employee mindset to entrepreneur mindset, because we literally will create opportunities off of something little bitty, something that nobody else is even thinking about. We'll see it and we'll be like, oh, I can create this and this, and I'll have 7 streams of income coming off of that one idea. That's when you start transitioning yourself from that from the employee mindset into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely. As a consultant, I always tell my students, you're looking for that gap, right? You're looking for the gap. But not every single problem that you will find in the organization is a profitable specialty to move forth in. So that's another way I help my students. It's like, okay, let me I want to understand the problem that you are thinking to bring to the market, because you have to be able to speak the language of the CEO or whoever is going to sign that check. So, it's really important that if you're interested in moving forward in the healthcare consulting industry, you're solving problems that are a priority for that organization. And that's why I wanted to break down the analogy when healthcare leaders and professionals and nurses, when we are tired, it impacts the budget.
Mhm.
So it takes a lot of organizations, it may take what, $30,000, $60,000, depending on the orientation, to orient a new nurse. If that nurse, if the turnaround time on that nurse is 3 months, my gosh, they've lost money. So you want to make sure that you're solving problems that are a priority to the organization. And if you don't know if that problem is a priority, you need to consult with an expert who's been there, done that, and can help you say, okay, you know what? Go back to the drawing table, or let's see how we can bring this to the attention and bring some pain behind it and validate. That's something else, Alviana. I notice a lot of consultants will get started, they'll move forward, and they're wondering, well, why is it that no one's investing in my consulting solutions? Well, you haven't validated it. You have not had a conversation with anyone in the marketplace who would be your ideal client who can invest. So I always make sure, before I introduce a new solution, I have conversations with the leaders I have relationships with, just to kind of test the market, because that comment alone and all the responses, all I would have to do is snapshot and share those with leaders and say, you know what? This person came from your organization. It's an anonymous person, but this is how they feel.
Mm.
So again, it was a post. It was intentional to help people think. If it motivated you, use that if you're interested in going into consulting.
Absolutely. I love that. Um, you talked about mindset work earlier, and I believe it was you. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you were saying that you wanted to be a TED Talk speaker at some point. Was that you?
I manifested that TED Talk
Yep.
like that. I woke up on September 12th, and it was I'm gonna be on TEDx. In November, I gave a TEDx talk.
What was that experience like?
Wow. It was an amazing experience, especially because I was able to share my journey, just awakening my inner expert and stepping out of a state of dormant brilliance. Because so many of us are brilliant, we're smart, we're knowledgeable, but we're in a dormant state. We haven't been awakened. So whether you want to go into consulting or anything, you could want to be an artist. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, so many times we get caught up in you know, we get caught up in just living day to day and living on someone else's terms. And at the end of the day, we continue to not move forward with our own dreams. And so it was just an amazing experience to just be able to share the journey. And it was just a moment I will never forget. And the outreach and the response and the feedback has been amazing. So I would encourage anyone to listen to that TED Talk. I'm gonna pat myself on the back, because it was amazing. Hopefully so many people will be able to be enlightened by that talk.
The reason why I wanted to bring it up is because you said that I manifested that into existence. One thing about it is oftentimes we have trouble kind of seeing ourselves in certain positions. We'll dream and we'll think about goals and things that I aspire to be this or whatever, but we forget to put in the mindset work that it takes to actually create that environment to get to where you're wanting to be. Okay. And so, one thing that one of our members, Tasha McCrae, always says is she says that, she takes those doubts when doubt and fear and insecurities and things creep up, she takes them and flips them and turns them into affirmations. So it could have very well been, yeah, I think I want to be a TED Talk speaker at one point or another. It sounds good. It looks good. Maybe I can get there, whatever. But turn it and say, I will be one. I see myself on the stage. I see myself killing the stage, and I see myself getting my message across to the masses. I will be successful in exactly what I'm doing. Speaks volume. I truly believe that we have to consistently work on our mindset. the enemy's job is to come in there and disrupt that mindset, right? Because if we disrupt the mindset, then we can't do those goals that we're reaching for, right? So
Yes.
I loved how you said I manifested that thing right there into existence. And next thing I knew, I turned on, I said, I'll be darned, there's Elle up on the stage.
Yes, in a matter of, my gosh, a few months. And when people, so many people apply over and over and over again, they get rejected. So many people, they go to different cities, apply. But at the end of the day, it's just about, I'm a visionary. So I see myself with this much income. I see myself doing certain things. So when we talk about having faith, faith is really believing in those things that you can't see. So how can I say I'm a woman of faith and I'm walking in faith and I can't even see myself as that woman I'm becoming? I can't see myself on the stage. That means I would be faithless. No, I'm full of faith. So it's really about being who you say you are and being what you practice and doing what you say you do is just believing and visualizing. So mindset work is something every single morning I have a routine. I get up and I actually have every quarter I have the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich workbook. I'm not sure if you've done the workbook.
No,
But
I haven't.
I do the workbook every single quarter, and it just reminds you to reaffirm your goals. Are you doing what you said you were going to do? What does that look like? How are you going to achieve it? I do gratitude, but I see myself doing all of these things. So I'm a big manifester. I tell my clients, I'm like, listen, if you work with me, prepare yourself because if I feel it, I'm going to speak it. And when I speak it, it happens. So if I feel that you are sitting on a 6-figure golden egg and you're not cracking it, we're going to crack it.
Yes, ma'am. I'm listening to you.
Don't let me get started.
I know. Yes, ma'am. I love that. I love it. I love it. I want to know about your fantastic book. You wrote a really powerful book. And as I was reading through it, I was like, she put a lot of stuff in this book here. And it was one valuable piece of work. Share with us a little bit about your experience just writing it.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I'm so happy that the book was valuable. I've met so many consultants, period, new consultants. They were able to start their consulting business from that book. And I had no idea that it would just be received. And so many people would take action the way that they have. So I'm so proud. But, the book for me was really about let me share what I learned. Because as I mentioned before, when I first got started in consulting, someone made me aware. She shared information with me, but there's still a lot I had to figure out on my own. So as I was searching for resources, looking for mentorship, really couldn't find anyone who was a healthcare consultant. It just put me in this place was I have to get back. I have to get back. And so many, of my friends, previous colleagues would reach back out to me and say, Elle, how did you do it? And I'm thinking, I'm running my consulting business. I can't be doing exploration calls all day. Let me write this book. So I wrote the book and just shared my journey. But something great about that book is if you're unsure about what challenges exist, what challenges are profitable in the healthcare industry, and you're like, okay, Elle, where do I go with that? Well, I introduce deliverables that you can offer to your clients. So I make it a no-brainer to collapse time for you, but it's up to you to be motivated to do the work. So I really provide you with the framework and relate it to nursing. So as a consultant, there's a process that I go through, but I utilize that same process when I was at the bedside, assessing my patients, I do my discovery calls with my clients today. So I assess their needs. I get them on a discovery call. We work out a plan. I go through the same algorithm that I did when I was taking care of patients at the bedside, but I just started to think differently. I think like a business consultant. I just wanted to break it down for those who were interested so they could relate it to, okay, I can do this too.
Right. Honey, I have shared that book so much. And you should see my copy of the book. I probably need a new book, Elle, because my book is like it's like that. 'Cause I've been in the book like crazy, but I've truly shared it so much because I'm one of those people, if I believe in something, I'm all in. I am going to support it nonstop. And I'm always going. I even have a couple of friends that are not nurses, but they are in healthcare, one extent or the other. And even some people that we've met over in Clubhouse that have followed us over on Instagram. I'm like, you didn't get this book. At minimum, start here. Just because I truly believe, and like I said, I've read it front to back and 2 or 3 times, and I see the value that was put into it. I see the work that you put into that book. So I commend you for sharing the power of expertise with us.
Yes, I appreciate you for your feedback. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I want to know, you have a couple of things that are coming up, some upcoming events, correct? So share
Yes,
with us what you have coming up.
yes. I had decided to put my webinar on Evergreen, right? Because I was like, I'm
Mhm.
so busy. I've been growing my firm, finishing up courses. And so I got so much response like, oh, when's the next master class? I said, you know what? I can at least commit to doing this master class live once a month to be able to show up and answer questions. So on the 19th at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'm hosting the free masterclass Healthcare Leader to Healthcare Consultant. So if anyone's interested in, going into consulting, learning more about the scope, the opportunity, and really I'm sharing the step-by-step process to get started. So you should be able to read the book and start your firm, but then you can take the masterclass and really I'm there to answer questions, and then also just provide you with that. Hey, this is what you do. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And then if you're interested in having a conversation after that, I'm always open to having conversations with those who are ready to commit to getting this money out here. But let me
Yeah,
tell you this also before we go. Listen, there's not only money in healthcare, but for us as healthcare consultants, there's non-healthcare organizations as well. So I would just commend anyone. Don't leave money on the table. They want to work with us, you guys. You just got
we
to show
do.
up for them.
We do. I completely agree. I would ask you, if you haven't already, make sure that you add your event. You can add it onto our calendar. That way we can send out notifications too and make sure that everybody gets notified, because I do want them to take advantage of it. So you said it's on the 19th at 6 Central, correct?
Yes, the 19th, and I'll post that event inside of the group.
Okay, perfect, perfect. All right, so one last thing. What would be your final advice? Those out there in the B&E world that are listening, what would you tell them? There somebody, because somebody for sure is out there listening and they're kind of on the fence, they're a little nervous or scared. I got this solid job over here. I don't know if I want to take the leap of faith into business. What would you tell them to do?
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone's interested in consulting specifically, you know, I think of it like this. As a nurse, I was able to help a few patients at the bedside, right? As a leader, I was able to help more, but it was a little different. But as a healthcare consultant, when I partner with organizations, what really feels good is the fact that the solutions I introduce, it impacts the masses.
Yep.
It impacts the masses. So if you went into healthcare with a desire to help others, because many of us as nurses, we're nurturers. So if you have identified a problem, how dare you not share that with organizations who need for you to show up and show out and introduce all the amazing ways that you can evolve change. That's what that's where it's at for me. So it's a comfort thing. It's a I am really stepping into my worth and it feels good, but it's more importantly, I'm sharing how to really evolve healthcare. That
Hmm.
feels good. That feels good. I'm doing God's work. It feels good.
Yes. Yes. Um, yeah. You're running parallel to exactly some of the things that I say here in B&E. I gave a speech about a year ago, and I was saying actually it included the "We are the trend" phrase, but I said, one thing about being a nurse is the beauty. We have this skill set, and the beauty of it is being able to help somebody live, to provide life. And should death be the next transition, then we're there at the bedside helping you to peacefully and smoothly transition to the next step of life, right? But entrepreneurship, in my opinion, gives you more of the freedom to be able to do it on your terms. And
Yes.
there's something about that that's very powerful. Being able to do God's work, and it's kind of that effortless flow of it. You're not there at the hospital and they're telling you to clock in and go to this meeting. And you're doing it, and it just kind of flows effortlessly because you're in that lane.
Yeah, it feels good. It
It
feels good.
does.
It really
It
does.
does. It does. Perfect. Well, Elle, I really appreciate you. I remember the days, your earlier days in B&E when you were talking a lot about LinkedIn, and I used to sit and listen. Yes, I used to listen. Listen, Elle, I listen to you guys. All
But
right.
you don't start something because LinkedIn has some new changes, and I'm like,
Oh, really? Some good ones?
I mean, they're just, it's yeah, it's good. It's good. It's
I
good.
mean, you
We'll
look
talk.
excited to me.
We'll have to talk. So
Okay. Okay. Good. All right. Well, that sounds like another episode for another day. That's great. So, okay, cool. But I do remember the days way back when. And honestly, it was before I really knew fully what you were doing. I just knew you more as this LinkedIn expert and how to really leverage LinkedIn for your business. And
wow,
then as I started watching and looking at some of your videos and listening to podcasts and stuff like that, I was like, oh, she's the goat. she does
yeah,
she does different things. So but yeah, I remember those days way back when, the LinkedIn videos that you used to post into B&E.
yeah.
So
I appreciate you and your platform. You're doing amazing things, and I just love to see so many amazing, successful, profitable. I mean, there's millionaires in this group, so you got to take
oh,
advantage of the knowledge.
absolutely. And that, that's just that. I always wanted to provide the best resources for nurses that are interested in launching, building, growing, whatever part of business that you're in, whatever season that looks like. Then there's somebody, we have resources here. There's somebody here that will help you to get to where you're wanting to be. And so I want people to understand, to take advantage of it. And here is a perfectly good example of somebody that has been, I talk to a lot of people, a lot of people,
Yeah.
a lot. And even today, somebody inboxed me and they said, "Oh my God, thank you so much for connecting me with Elle, because I
Oh,
talked to her and man, I'm just shoo, shoo, shoo. I got all these ideas. I'm ready to go. I'm going to be successful. And I promise I
yes.
won't forget about you when I get successful." And I'm like,
Yes.
girl, no problem, no problem.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it's honestly, I think about B&E, us as a community. I think about us working together, collaborating and networking together to share those resources. You may not be good at something, but I might be, or I know somebody that is, and vice versa. And so I
Yes.
always feel like we have stuff here to help us to build a better community, and then also change the paradigm of what we think nursing should look like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are more than capable. We have all the tools and expertise. This is just the beginning.
Just the
This
beginning.
is just the beginning.
Just the beginning. I agree. And then you know what? You guys can go out there and buy all the pizza in the world that you want. You don't have to worry about that that 12-hour-old pizza,
Keep
okay?
that. Save that.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Do you have anything else that you want to share with our audience before we leave?
Oh, wow, wow. Just, to leverage your place of work. Build relationships with leaders. Before I go, I'll just share this. I'm a people person. I love to meet new people, start conversations. So start conversations with some of the leaders that you work with. Don't let them know that I'm going to start a consultant business. Don't say all that. Start building a relationship with them. Ask to take them out to lunch. Ask them to, can you sit in on a boardroom meeting? That way you get to learn about the business of healthcare. That will be so valuable to you in your journey as a healthcare business consultant.
Very good. Start networking, start having conversations.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
Perfect, perfect. All right, so Elle's information, I'll have that all in the biography section, as well as, right now we're streaming across our YouTube as well as our Facebook. So all of Elle's information is there. And so will be the B&E information too. As I always say, make sure you're following us across all of our social media platforms. And of course, you got to subscribe to the podcast and share it with your colleagues, of course, because we have wonderful conversations just like this one right here. I want you guys to download our app. Make sure you do that. But more importantly, I want you guys to remember. I always say our phrase is "We are the trend," because I want us to start getting into the mindset that we're trendsetters. We think outside of the box. We create new opportunities. We're innovative in our thinking. We go to our jobs and that's completely fine, and we help and we assist, but I want us to start changing our mindset into being powerful men, black women, and being awesome entrepreneurs. So, as I always say, good night, and remember that we don't follow the trends, but we are the trend. That's right, that's right. Thank you guys. Have a good one.